Come on in. Welcome to Idled Out, where we talk all things Survivor. My name is Luke, and today we're talking about the most bizarre returnee picks for each returnee season of Survivor. With Survivor 50 on the horizon and Jeff whittling down the cast and dropping little hints of who's going to be on as we speak, fans have got returnee fever. And until that cast list drops, we'll all be speculating on who will make the cut of a season that won't even air until the spring of 2026. And there's one hallmark of every returnee season of Survivor that is tradition at this point: the what the fuck pick. Every returning player season has at least one, a completely out of left field choice that few would have pegged as returnee material. And yet here they are, getting a second shot, even if we, the audience, already politely declined their invitation to return. So today, in honor of whoever the future what the fuck literal who picks for Survivor 50 may be, I thought it would be fun to look back at the strangest returning player picks of seasons past. What makes them a weird choice, why I think they were cast, and how some made the most of their surprise second shot, and how others flamed out. So cast your second chance ballot, pretend you're a game changer, and don't forget to tip me some fire tokens as we take a look back at the weirdest picks for each returning player season. For 7 long seasons, we didn't have any returning players. Season after season of exciting, fresh, new players. How did we survive? That all changed with Survivor's first returning player season, Survivor All-Stars, and their first out-of-left-field pick. Most of this cast were legit all-stars, the most popular or infamous players of their seasons, but 2 players were pretty left-field choices at the time: Boston Rob and Amber. And though Amber was on a more popular season, anyone who's recently watched Marquesas can tell you how large a presence Rob is, even if he doesn't make the jury. So for the purposes of this video, Amber is my choice. Amber was a barely there character in Survivor Australia who mostly sat around and laughed at Jerry's jokes. Probably the least popular woman this season, barring Deb, although she's a fan favorite in some step circles. The casting for All-Stars was super tight, and there were a lot of locks, with only 1 or 2 realistically open slots for the women. And I imagine the process was about as scientific as, what's our most viewed season? Who's the highest placing woman we haven't asked yet? Throw her on. Now, obviously, Amber, along with Rob, came out of the season as one of the only players to actually improve her legacy rather than damage it. And along the way, she set a trend of reality returning player casting, making surprise choices of players that producers liked, but who didn't fulfill their potential on their first time. Speaking of, the next returning player season was Survivor Micronesia. I genuinely think they did pretty well casting the favorites on this season, but pre-season one name stood out like a sore thumb: Parvati. It's a miracle they brought Parvati back, because in Cook Islands, she is not the Parvati we all know and love today. You can see the bones of the villain to come, but she only gets one creepy yet clumsily delivered cannibalism confessional the whole season.
I'm gonna lure him into my web and trap him there and suck his blood.
Cook Islands Parvati played second fiddle to Candace in the Raro Alliance, got naked in the hot tub, was kinda mean to Penner, and other than that, she... If I were ranking this cast by their likeliness to return after this season, I would not have her at the top. She'd be right below Nate and right above Jenny, or something. But clearly they rightly saw a lot of potential in Parvati, and on a return, she was both more confident and more game-savvy, and fulfilled whatever potential they thought she had, and probably a whole lot more. Parvati also beat out much more likely returnees of the era like PG, Courtney Yates, Courtney Merritt, and even the aforementioned Candace for a spot on the cast. Yes, once upon a time, Candace was more well-known than Parvati. It's just wild to think that Parvati, one of the faces of the Survivor franchise and reality TV as a whole, would have remained an incredibly obscure third fiddle in the world's least likable alliance. if not for a surprise second chance. I'm serious, by the way. This was almost Candace's spot. Well, thank God we dodged that bullet. The weirdest returnee on Survivor Heroes vs. Villains is the icon, the legend, the hero, Candace. There are other players here who could qualify. Danielle was kind of a strange choice, and even Tyson at the time was kind of a bizarre choice when Johnny Fairplay and Rob Sesternino were on the table. But Candace is one of the weirdest picks ever in an otherwise stacked cast where everyone earns their title. Now, I'm gonna try to be nice here, but why? Who? A hero? I would have thought Candace's returnee window had closed. To me, she's the kind of player where the window to return is very short. Yet here she is 7 seasons after her initial outing as one of the 10 most heroic players ever to play. Rupert? Okay. Cirie? Yep. Amanda? Check. Colby? Uh-huh. Candace? The famously disloyal player who mutinied on all her allies to go make out with the human embodiment of a backwards baseball cap? That's true heroism. To her credit, Candace did make the most of her appearance in Heroes vs. Villains, heroically flipping on her allies to give full control of the game to the villains. Actually, I've got to hand it to her. I mean, her completely unnecessary flip did actually save us from, like, the heroes taking control and Rupert winning. I take it all back. That actually is pretty heroic. Following Heroes vs. Villains, Survivor trotted out a few popular players as team captains here and there, but the next truly what the fuck returnees were those on Survivor Caramoan, fans versus favorites, possibly the biggest lie in a subtitle of all time. The alleged favorites tribe had a few favorites, sure, but it was mostly pretty weird picks. But Francesca, Dawn, and Brandon stand out most to me. Francesca was a first boot on her last season and was obviously brought back as guaranteed conflict for Philip. I guess Holly, Jane, and Lisa were all busy, so whatever, I'll take it. But for Brandon, whose favorite is he? I don't even think he's a favorite of the rest of the Hanses. What's wild about Brandon is that when he's in the game playing, he's actually really well liked. In South Pacific, he was a huge jury threat. But I think you could view his casting on Caramoan pretty cynically, and that his episode 5 exit was somewhat expected. I'm not all the way there on that reading of the situation, but I do think he clearly should not have been out there, and that they knew putting him on a tribe with Philip would lead to something like this. Was it supposed to go this far? I don't know. Either way, Brandon's meltdown and removal from the game ended CBS's obsession with this strange family. So, thanks, Brandon. You've officially reached Candace hero tier. I'll never be convinced that Survivor Blood vs. Waters cast wasn't selected by just hitting the randomize cast button on Brant Steele, but I'd make the case that the Survivor One World returnees this season are the strangest choices. But Colton in particular stands out. Survivor was finally digging itself out of its trashy era, and then they just bring back Colton. We're really doing this again? Colton on his first appearance was a cruel, bigoted bully, and we didn't even get the justice of seeing Kim vote his ass out. Instead, he went home on a stretcher because of a widow tummy ache. No one, and I mean no one, wanted Colton to play again. Unlike other controversial returnees in seasons past, like Philip, there was not even an ironic fan base for Colton. The announcement of his casting was met with a collective groan. What Survivor was trying to do here, I think, was give Colton a redemptive arc. He said he'd changed, his fiance was a really wonderful guy. Was he a decent person now? Mercifully, Colton rage quit the game after trying to push around a bunch of returning players, so we only had to deal with Colton for 3 episodes. Yeah, you may be able to bully Leaf and Bill, but you can't bully Tyson and Tina. The next returning player season was Survivor Cambodia, Survivor's first and only fan-voted second chance season. Everybody here was on equal playing field, having only played 1 time, and all were voted in by fans. Still, there were a few people who were very much on the bubble in my opinion, and my guess for the returning player who received the fewest votes but still made the season is Andrew Savage. a pre-jury villain from an old season where he was maybe the 5th or 6th most memorable player. I don't think Savage was a lot of Survivor fans' first choice to return on this ballot, and I guess that he got the fewest votes of other players I suspect were similarly on the bubble but still made it on, like Jeff Varner, Wentworth, and Monica. In fact, it may have been Savage buying ad space on the voting website which put him over the edge. Thank God Savage made the cut. Smarmy beyond all reason, hater of wimpy little non-leaders, crying about how hot his wife is, and with an all-time comeuppance. Savage in Cambodia is one of my favorite characters of the 30s, and he cemented his legacy as a Hall of Fame villain in Cambodia. And just when you think he can't get any better, he shows up on the jury dressed like this. Hello, fellow kids. What else can you want in a Survivor character? Put this man on Survivor 50. The next returnee season was just 3 seasons later, the questionably named Survivor Game Changers. I've beaten this season to death on many videos on this channel, and I'm gonna do it again. Game Changers? Where? You couldn't throw a dart on this boat and hit an actual game changer. And on any given day, for this video's purposes, I might pick 3-time flop Jeff Varner, literal alternate Sierra Dawn Thomas, the somehow still alive Caleb, second chance rejects Troyzan and Brad. But for me, right now, Haley beats them all. Not even she knew why she was there.
I don't know why I'm back. I think I played a horrible game my first time around.
Look, nothing against Haley personally. I like her. I think she would be prime material for a second chance season. But on a season called Game Changers, putting her in the same caliber as Tony and Sandra is pretty laughable. At the time, Jeff defended the eyebrow-raising casting for this theme as not only players who actually changed the game, but players who were willing to change the game. So I guess we can put Haley in the latter column. I think production just really liked Haley, and I think they just seen the success Wentworth had in Second Chance, and were hoping to emulate that with her. She gave good sound bites, and she was willing to play hard, but lightning just didn't strike twice. And Haley suffered a relatively early exit, becoming the first member of the jury for the 2nd time in a row. I guess that's kinda game-changing. That brings us to our most recent returning player season, Survivor Winners at War. Generally, I think this cast is really good given availability, circumstances, player popularity, and the general passage of time. Outside of the snub of Tina, which still hurts, and Earl having to decline, this was realistically the best cast we could have asked for, even if it's a little heavy on winners from the 30s. Just be happy Tommy isn't here, okay? But if I had to pick one person as my most surprising choice, for me, it would be Adam. Ex post facto, I kind of view Adam as the heart and soul of this season, a superfan getting to live out his dreams of playing with Survivor legends and bumbling all along the way. But I'm really glad he was on. He was reportedly a relatively late addition to the cast, and I think it's very easy to envision a world where JT, or Mike Holloway, or Earl, or Cochran, or Todd, or even Fabio make the cut over him. Overall, though, I think it was an inspired choice to have Adam on almost as a superfan audience surrogate, a guy who came to play hard, but who was also just excited to play with and even vote out some of his favorite Survivor players. Which, come to think of it, didn't Adam target Parvati and Rob? I take this all back. Where's Fabio? Got nothing else for ya. If you thought this video was cooler than Andrew Savage's jury fit, like and subscribe and I'll get you more Survivor content just like this. Until next time, don't get idled out.